The real formula with guys is to have low expectations and high standards. I know for so many of you, the hard part of that is to have low expectations and high standards requires you to be really okay on your own, right? Because when you have low expectations of people and high standards, a lot of people are not going to pass muster. A lot of people are not going to meet your standards. It's going to require you to throw a lot of fish back into the sea, a lot of fish you like, right? A lot of guys that you're into, that you see the potential, that just aren't panning out because they aren't meeting your standards. I like you, but this isn't what I'm looking for. And even though I like you, I'm going to wait for the thing that it is that I'm looking for. But that's hard when you do not feel okay on your own. You would rather deal with a guy who sucks. You would rather deal with a guy who's not passing muster, who's not meeting your standards, and hope that he changes than be bored, than be lonely, because it is hard. It requires a lot of like mental and spiritual fortitude to sit there and be like, I love myself more than I am bothered by this boredom, than this loneliness. I love myself more than to continue to expose myself to low effort men or men that don't meet my standards, even if it means I'm bored, I'm lonely, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. When you are so rooted in your own self, in your own world, in your own life, and that took me a really long time. And now that my life is so big and full and juicy, it's way easier for me to throw fish back into the sea, because I'm like, no, my life is really good with or without you. But I remember when I didn't have that big, full, juicy life, and it really was hard because I was like, I will feel the gap of having nobody. Like there's so much emotional avoidance in it of, I don't want to feel the disappointment and the anger and the frustration and the pain. I would rather put up with bad behavior in hopes that it would change, rather than to draw a boundary, throw that fish back in the sea and say, I would rather be with my own company in my own life than to be with a guy below my standards. But that is the ultimate form of self-love, is loving yourself more than you love that guy. Even if it means having to live in boredom, even if it means having to live in frustration and loneliness and sadness or whatever, you love yourself more, that you are willing to do that for yourself than to continue to expose yourself to a guy that's not meeting your standards. Okay? That is where the magic is. That is the personal growth arc that forces you into your best self. That is where you have the room and the space to become your best self and to create a life that you love beyond relationships. Like it really is, when you do that work, it really unlocks something amazing in your life. It's healed so much of my anxious attachment, because once I kind of built up the muscle of being like, no, I would rather be alone. I would rather love myself more. It has now led me to like the most amazing life possible because I had the time and space to do it. I took all my mental energy back from that sucky guy.